Arsenal makes surprise £21 million bid for Inter Milan star. Meanwhile, Jorginho suggests Arteta's plan for the Atalanta clash could be a disastrous decision, and Arteta provides an urgent update on Mikel Marino's injury. Stay with me until the end of the video to check out the latest Arsenal news straight from the Emirates Stadium. But before that, if you're as passionate about Arsenal as we are, don't waste any time and subscribe to our channel right now to stay updated on everything happening with the greatest team in the Premier League. And without further ado, let's dive into today's top news. Arsenal had a pretty solid summer transfer window, bringing in 3 high-quality players to strengthen the squad. They managed to sign Riccardo Calafiori, Mikel Marino, and Raheem Sterling, so overall it's safe to say it was a successful window for the North London club. But even with those new additions, there's still some work to be done across the team. Arsenal's management is already thinking ahead and starting to plan their moves for January. In fact, word just got out that they're gearing up to make an offer for a defender from Inter Milan. According to Inter Live, Arsenal are eyeing up a move for Inter Milan's center-back, Jan Bissek, in the upcoming January transfer window. It looks like the Gunners are ready to put in a bid that could go up to £21 million for the 23-year-old. Since his £5 million transfer from Aarhus in 2023, he's been a standout player for the Serie A side. Apparently, Mikel Arteta is the driving force behind this potential transfer, having been really impressed with what Bissek has shown on the pitch. The German youth international, known for his remarkable speed, as noted by Breaking the Lines, is under contract with Inter until 2028. There's also been talk about Takahiro Tomiyasu possibly heading to Inter, so we might even see a swap deal between the two clubs. Football talent scout Jacek Kulig, who has compared Jan Bissek to Rafael Varane, actually gave a detailed profile on the German a few years back. Kulig described him as a large, consistent, and physically strong player who thrives in one-on-one situations. What's even more intriguing is that Bissek can also step in as a defensive midfielder when needed, thanks to his vision, his ability to read the game, and his sharp tactical awareness. That versatility is something Arteta really values, so it wouldn't be surprising if he pushes Arsenal to make a formal bid for Bissek in the coming months. Arsenal are gearing up for their Champions League match against Atalanta, and Ethan Nwaneri might get the chance to start. The Gunners are already into a crucial week, having kicked things off with a strong win over Tottenham Hotspur. But there are still 2 massive games ahead. The showdown with Manchester City this weekend is shaping up to be one of the biggest of the season, but right now, all eyes are on the Champions League clash with Atalanta. Mikel Arteta has a few tough choices to make, including whether to start Nwaneri. Jorginho's insights into Atalanta suggests that maybe it's not the best time to put Nwaneri in the lineup. Atalanta's rise in Serie A has been nothing short of spectacular since Gianpiero Gasperini took over in 2016. Gasperini, one of the top managers in Italian football, guided his team to win the Europa League title last season. They made a big impact by beating heavyweights like Liverpool and Bayer Leverkusen on their way to that triumph, so Arsenal will need to be cautious about their formidable challenge. Jorginho, who's well acquainted with Italian football, shared his thoughts on Atalanta before Thursday's game, and he made it clear that Arsenal is in for a tough match. Jorginho mentioned that Atalanta are known for their physical style of play, and warned that the atmosphere at the Stadio Atleti Azzurri d'Italia will be intense. In an interview with NBC Sports, he said, "It's definitely going to be a tough and challenging match because they're a very physical team. It won't be easy, and the atmosphere in Italy will be really charged. We need to be prepared for another tough battle." Ethan Nwaneri should not start versus Atalanta. Nwaneri is definitely one of the most exciting young talents in football right now. He's shown during Arsenal's preseason tour of the US and held his own impressively at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium last Sunday. But let's remember, he's still just 17. Throwing him into a high-pressure Champions League away game in Italy, where the atmosphere will be intense and hostile, might not be the best move. Jorginho, who knows Italian football inside out, has hinted that it's going to be a tough game against Atalanta. It might be wise for Arteta to heed his advice and not start Nwaneri on Thursday. Arsenal have some more manageable fixtures coming up after the Manchester City match. It would be smarter to give Nwaneri his chances in those games, where he can ease into the action without the added pressure. David Ornstein shares whether Mikel Arteta could still replace Pep Guardiola at Man City despite new Arsenal deal. Arsenal's future looks bright, especially with their popular manager Mikel Arteta recently extending his contract to stay in North London. Despite interest from Barcelona last season and links with Manchester City, Arteta chose to commit to Arsenal by signing a new deal at the Emirates Stadium. Right after inking his contract, Arteta made history by becoming the first manager since George Graham to win 3 consecutive away North London derbies. Arsenal's 1-0 victory over Tottenham Hotspur put them in a solid position as they gear up to face Manchester City in their next Premier League clash. That upcoming match at the Etihad Stadium is a big one in the title race. Man City are currently 2 points ahead of Arsenal, and the Gunners haven't won there since 2015. Arsenal are aiming to clinch the title on their 3rd attempt, having finished 2nd in the past 2 seasons. But even if they don't come out on top this time, they can be confident that Arteta will have more chances to lead them to glory in the future. Speaking on the Athletic FC podcast, journalist David Ornstein claimed that should Pep Guardiola depart Man City at the end of his contract in 2025, there is nothing to suggest that Arteta will return to the Etihad to replace him. Mikel Arteta will be high in their thoughts because they've had him there before. They know the quality of his work. There will still be a lot of relationships between City and Arteta, but there's too many unknowns in all of this. Ornstein stated of potential Guardiola replacements at Man City. They also like Michel at Girona, for example. He's one who's been heavily linked. There will be all manner of coaches coming to the fore. Look how highly Pep Guardiola's talked about Roberto De Zerbi in the past. Look how highly he talked about Thomas Frank last weekend. Mikel Arteta has moved from Manchester to London with his family. He seems very settled there, and it appears that he's there for the long-term future. Of course, going back to Manchester wouldn't be the hardest thing in the world, but I just don't have any credible suggestions, other than I'm sure he's on their list like all top coaches are. But then he's on Barcelona's list. He came through the Barcelona Academy, and his family have links obviously to Spain, having come from San Sebastian, so I think the Man City links are understandable, but I don't think at the moment they have any credence, and certainly not to my knowledge. Mikel Arteta is set for long-term future at Arsenal. Arteta signing a new contract with Arsenal is a clear sign that he's committed to seeing his vision through for the long haul. It shows he's not planning to jump ship, even if Guardiola were to leave Manchester City. Arteta is determined to stay at Arsenal until his project brings home some silverware to North London. He was reportedly frustrated by the links to Barcelona earlier this year, and it's obvious that regardless of any other potential interest, Arteta isn't going anywhere. He's fully focused on making his mark at Arsenal and isn't about to leave until he achieves his goals with the club. And to wrap things up, folks, we have an update on Mikel Marino. Mikel Marino is still waiting for his debut in an Arsenal shirt, but it looks like it might be just around the corner. Con Harrison, who was among the first to report on Marino's injury, has shared an update on his current status at Arsenal through his Twitter account. While it's always good to take such updates with a grain of salt, if Harrison's track record of breaking news holds up, this could be promising for Arsenal fans eager to see Marino in action. Where will Mikel Marino slot into things? When Mikel Marino returns from his injury, Arteta will have some tough choices to make. Jorginho's standout performance against Tottenham impressed even Alan Shearer, and with Declan Rice set to come back from his suspension, it might be a challenge for Marino to step right back into the lineup. Martin Odegaard's injury does open up a spot where Marino could potentially fit, especially given his creative flair shown during the Euros. But how Arteta will handle this situation remains to be seen. With Champions League matches and EFL Cup games on the horizon, Marino will definitely get his chance to make an impact and prove his worth in the coming weeks. Well, folks, those were the main news for today. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated on everything happening with our beloved team, you know what to do. Subscribe to the channel now and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any updates. Thanks for joining us, and until the next video.